Hi, everybody. This is Miss Mall, and I'm going to be showing you a couple tricks about how to practice High Hopes, which is one of our orchestra pieces that we're going to work on in class this year. All right. Now, when I look at High Hopes, I know the song already from hearing it on the radio or seeing it on YouTube. So that's probably a good idea for you to go ahead and listen to it first so that you have a really good idea of how it goes. Okay. When I look at a new piece of music, and I have it right on my stand here in front of it, me, just like you do, okay, I first look at the key signature, which means I look at the very beginning of the line and I say, hey, do I have any sharp signs, the ones that look like tic tac toe signs or hashtags? Do I have any sharp signs at the beginning of the line? If I don't have any sharp signs and I'm looking in there and I do not, it means for violins, I'm going to have a bunch of squishy twos. So if I go on my E string, my top string, I'm going to have a squishy two because I don't want to have a G sharp, but I want to have a G squishy or a G natural. If I go on my A string, which is my second string over, I'm going to also have a squished back two because I don't want to have a C sharp. That's what we normally play. We normally play a nice high two, so it's a big space away from one. And then if I go over to my D string, I'm going to also have a squishy two for the same reason. So two fingers on the D string plays F, and I'm going to make it an F not sharped or an F natural. All right, so if I play from the very beginning, I'm going to stop when I get to 9 because the rhythm throughout here is almost the same. I have a long note and then I have two notes that are connected. So it's going to be long, short, short, long, long. When I see those two notes that are connected there, I know that they're going to be twice as fast. Those are eighth notes. I'm going back and forth. It's mostly just a squishy two. That's what I'm going to start on. Sometimes I go to a 1. Okay? So I'm going to start right at the beginning with the squishy two on the A string, and this is what it sounds like. Long, short, short. One finger. Two. Rest. So that little bit right there, right before measure 9, is a tiny bit different. It is two notes that are stuck together, so they are faster, and it plays 2, 3, 2. All right, I'm going to keep playing. So now I'm going to go from number 9, and I'm going to play through till I see a repeat sign. And a repeat sign looks like a double line with two dots. So it's going to start on E. It does say 4 fingers, but right now I'm just going to play my open E string. Okay, here we go. All right, now there were two things that I wanted to point out in there. In measure 12, the high note is going to be one finger on the E string. Okay, so it's going to be one finger on the E string, but it's one finger on the E string pulled backwards. So closer to where the scroll is, that's this round part, or closer to where these pegs are. This right here, where the tape would be, is called F sharp, and we want it to be an F backwards or an F natural. Okay? The other thing is, and those are the last 4 notes in measure 12, the other weird thing was the last 3 notes in measure 15. If you see there's a little 3 underneath it, that means they're triplets. And if you think of triplet babies, there are 3 babies that fit into the place where one baby would normally be. So what we're going to do is we're going to fit 3 notes into the place where one note or one beat normally is. So at 15, it would be long note, triplet. Okay? Now, we get to the end of 16 and there's a repeat sign, or those 2 dots that I mentioned. You're going to go back to measure 9. because that's where the other two dots are. So you're going to repeat that section. Now, as you do it a second time, you're going to get to 15, and you see where it says 1, and then at the beginning of 16, and then at 17 it says 2. Well, because this is the second time that we're playing this, we're actually going to go to the second time ending. Okay? So you play from 9 until the end of 16, you go back to 9, play to the end of 15, and then you hop over, never play 16 again, but hop over to 17. All right, now I'm going to go on to 18. 18 is similar to the beginning. It's got those short notes and those long notes, and we've got to remember we've got squishies, but we have a couple rests. If you see a zigzag rest that kind of looks like a lightning bolt, that's going to be 1 beat. If you see one that sits on top of the line, it looks like a little rectangle and it's sitting on top of the line, that's going to be 2 beats. So I'll count them. If I started at 18, it'll be rest, 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 rest. Now I'm at 21 or 22, I'm sorry, and I have that first finger on the E string but backwards again for an F natural. Rest, rest, rest. Now, I did make one mistake there in 23. There are 2 notes that are hooked together with a curvy line. And when you see that curvy line, we call it a tie. And it's like I tied my 2 shoelaces together. So now I have one longer shoelace. Okay, so one super long note. So I don't play it 2 different sounds. I play it for the 2 different sounds I'm counting in my head, but I hold them together. So what it would sound like at 23... So it would be short, 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 long, short, 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 right? Rest. 2, rest. 26. 2, 3, rest. And rest. Now this part here, 30, sounds just like 22. Backwards 1. Rest. Rest. 2, rest. Now this part's my favorite section because it's got some cool accidentals, and accidentals mean sharps or flats or naturals that aren't normally in this, in the piece. So when I look in measure 34 and they have a sharp sign, there's a sharp sign in measure 38, and it just makes it sound a little funky and cool. Okay, so in order to get into this, if I look at measure 33, I see like kind of, it looks like a 7. Okay, a 7 is a fast rest. It only gets half of a beat. So it's not as long as one of those zigzag lightning bolts. So at the beginning of 33, I have ti, ti, ta, or 1 and 2, rest, bum, 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 bum. So I have just a very quick rest. So I'm going to play the last 3 notes in 33, and I'll go 1, 2, rest. Half note here, now a quick rest. All right, and remember I said I like this because it's a 3rd finger, but if you sat on something sharp, like I'm sitting on a stool here, if I sat on something sharp, I would want to go higher. I wouldn't want to sit down on it. So in order to make my notes sound higher, I take my 3rd finger and I stretch it out. Okay? Because if I play it a normal 3, whoops, let's see if you can see it. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to stretch my 3rd finger towards my nose. So we call that sharper or higher sounding. Okay? I'm going to go backwards to 3 notes before 34 again. So it's ready, it's rest. Rest. Stretch your third. Rest. Same thing. Now rest. Stretch your third. Rest. So when you get to 42, you should recognize the sound from the beginning. And it's not the very, very beginning. Do you know where it's from? So if we have that, that's at 42, and I'm remembering it from, hopefully you got it right, number 9. It's going to be the same thing. And there is a repeat sign in there too. So when you got to the end of 49, you go back to 42. I'm going to play right through there. So 42 to the end. Here we go. Backwards 1. Rest. Triplet. 49. Here's your repeat back to 42. Backwards 1. Now here, instead of playing 49, which has the number 1 over it with the line, I'm skipping to number 2. Section number 2, or ending number 2. Rest, rest. All right, and you may notice that right at the end there, I used my 4th finger to play the E note. And if you could do that, that's great. Or you could play an open E string. Okay? Now, don't worry about this. This is not something that we're expecting for you to be able to play immediately and straight through the whole thing. But if you want to give it a try, I've kind of talked about some of the parts that you need to watch out for. Like if you played the whole thing with stretchy 2s, it would sound weird. It wouldn't sound like the song that you hear on YouTube. Okay, so we're going to use squishy 2s throughout, and then that first finger on the E string, that's going to be backwards again. Okay, now we'll be working on this in orchestra, and we'll be working on this in lessons, and you can always tune in for an extra help lesson, and we'll see how it goes. But that is High Hopes. And in case I didn't even mention, if anybody is wondering what about first violin and second violin, everybody gets to play first violin because it's got the best melody. So, all right, I will talk to you soon. Bye.